presenter Abdurrahman Yusuf, and these are the stories that are making our headlines tonight. Troubled Somalia Football Federation elections called off after 20 Congress members protest and government intervened. Regional leaders call for lifting of UN arms embargo on Somalia. Somalia National Army claims killing of Al-Shabaab fighters. Somalia government executes 4 soldiers over killings. Ethiopia bans to have your back. Now, the Somalia government and Congress members have intervened a planned parallel elections that was to be held by the rival Somali Football Federation officials. The planned elections had been scheduled on the 1st of February here in Mogadishu at Elite Hotel by President Ali Abdi Mohamud and Jazeera Hotel for the opposing officials backing Haji Yabo, son to the former Basketball Federation, Aden Haji Yabo. Here is a full story. It took the Internal Security Ministry directions to end plans to hold the 2 parallel elections, which had been scheduled for 1st February in Mogadishu at the Elite Hotel organized by Acting President Ali Abdi Mohammed and Jazeera Hotel for opposing officials backing Haji Yabo, son to former Basketball Federation President Adi Haji Yabo. At least 20 members of the Congress that will vote in the new president have accused Mohammed of plotting a rigged. His opponents blame foreign hands in the current impasse with Djibouti Football Federation boss Suleiman Waberi, mentioned on several occasions as pushing for a Mohammed comeback. Wabari came to the picture in matters Somali football when he accompanied delegation of FIFA officials to Mogadishu in February 2022. Abdurrahman Mu'min, a civil society activist, accused Waberi of using his FIFA and Sakafa connections to influence the polls, saying that they have organized street protests against the Djibouti official. Yusuf accuses Mohammed of plotting to rig the elections. Ali Bare, one of the co-owners of Al Hilal Club, a Series B side, has asked FIFA to intervene and save Somalia football.
Tonight, being 23rd of January 2023, we are gathered here to address the media concerning the relief facing Somalia Football Federation as Federation's officials. The quagmire caused the delay of elections, with FIFA issuing a statement stating the body should solve its internal wrangles and it won't accept a one-sided election.
An insider told Dalsan media that FIFA has invited Somalia Football Federation officials possible arbitration amid the quagmire in the local football body. Football in post-Somali civil war Somalia had seen a commendable growth in the last 5 years, with the Horn of Africa country priding itself with a league that includes foreign players from Kenya, Nigeria, Ghana, Uganda and Cameroon, among other African countries. Construction of world-class stadia and October 2022 Under-17 Sekafa win is among the accolades gained by the Somalia Football Federation. But corruption has threatened to derail these developments. Poor governance, public wrangles for power, ethnic and political intrigue have become a norm in Somalia football. Mohammed's predecessor Abdiqani Said Arab was sacked for abuse of power in December 2021. He was accused of misappropriation of funds meant for 2 FIFA projects in Kismayu and Mogadishu. Somalia Football Federation was also accused of not backing the women football in Somalia, despite the funding. Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports suspended elections of the body that was to be held on 28th of December 2022 after it received complaints from some members of the football fraternity in Somalia.
marnaba lagama aqbalayo doorasho hal dhinac ama doorasho qof ama koox yar ay isku jimeeyaan ay yiraahdaan anaga kaliya in la doortaan rabnaa anaga kaliya in mataqaana ay doorasho noola qabtaan rabnaa haddaan noola qabanaynin waxaan sameynaynaa wadanka waxaan gelinaynaa suspension ama ganaax wax laga akhrisan karo maaha wax laga aqbali karo maaha.
And after the ministry tried to mitigate and address the raised concerns through appropriate channels, the Electoral Committee of the Somalia Football Federation bypassed the guidance stipulated in Somalia Stability Fund statutes, electoral code, and overall FIFA guidance. The World Football Governing Body issued guidance to the Somali Football Federation statutes to resolve the quagmire, while the Ministry of Youth and Sports gave the Somalia Football Federation an ultimatum for organizing the elections before January 30th, 2023. Somalia Football Federation, which is responsible for organizing matches between local teams and enforcing rules and regulations of football, was founded in 1951 in one of the national administrative governing bodies of the Confederation of African Football and became a FIFA member in 1962. The fate of SFF leadership and that of the Somalia football now remains in the 46 Congress members. The Congress is made up of 25 independent organizations, coaches, universities and federal state representatives. Reporting for Dalsan TV, I'm Abdurrahman Yusuf. Leaders from Kenya, Ethiopia and Djibouti have called on the United Nations to lift the arms embargo on Somalia. Kenya's President William Ruto, Ismail Gele's Djibouti and Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed attended a frontline summit that was held on Mogadishu, organized by the Somalia President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud. Leaders from Kenya, Ethiopia, Djibouti have called on the United Nations to lift arms embargo on Somalia. Kenya President William Ruto, Djibouti's Ismail Gele and Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed have attended Frontline State Summit, which was hosted by Somalia President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud in Mogadishu. The summit welcomed Somalia's government request to obtain lethal and non-lethal support in war against Al-Shabaab. The leaders agreed with Hassan Sheikh Mohamud that Al-Shabaab must be smoked out of every part of the Horn. Somalia has lately been raising the tempo against Shabaab, cheering on the village vigilantes to fight alongside the Somalia National Army, while banning Shabaab narratives from media, freezing bank accounts linked to the militant group, but the group has often responded with vengeance, targeting government offices, civil servants and civilian areas with explosives to avenge for the lost territory. Somalia government has been trying to convince the United Nations to completely lift the arms embargo by the end of this year. In November, the UN Security Council extended the arms embargo until November next year, arguing Shabaab was still a threat to the country. The Somalia government executed 4 government officials accused of killing their colleagues as the government came under pressure to hold its forces for abuse and killings.
Somalia has executed 4 government soldiers Thursday accused of killing colleagues as the government came under pressure to hold its forces to account for abuses and killings. According to a court statement, the 4 soldiers who were attached to NISA, Somali National Army, and the police were found guilty of killing 4 soldiers from their divisions and were sentenced to death some months back. The executed soldiers include Bukhari Awil Mohammed, Ali Mohammed Hussein, Somali National Army, Abdrazak Ahmed Mukhtar, police. The Somali government previously executed dozens of soldiers and Al-Shabaab convicts who were sentenced by the Somali military court. The armed forces have been recently accused of killing civilians and their colleagues in Mogadishu and other parts of the country. Somalia has been struggling to rebuild its forces after the collapse of Somalia's central government led by the then late Mohamed Siad Barre.
According to a court statement, the 4 soldiers who were attached to the National Intelligence and Security Agency, the Somalia National Army, and the police had been found guilty of killing their colleagues from their respective divisions and had been sentenced to death some few months ago.
Somalia forces backed by local clan militias have attacked an Al-Shabaab-controlled village in central Somalia. According to a statement by the Somali military, the allied forces engaged in fierce fighting with Al-Shabaab fighters. The operation against Al-Shabaab took place in Bahano village, which lies about 15 kilometers from Beledweyne town of Hiran region. The Somali military claim they have killed Al-Shabaab fighters in the operation. Beledweyne town lies about 245 kilometers away from Mogadishu, the capital city of Somalia. Somali forces backed by local militias have recently stepped up operations against Al-Shabaab in central Somalia. Since last July, when the operation against Al-Shabaab, the government forces liberated dozens of villages and towns in Hiran, Galgaduud, Mudug and Middle Shabelle regions. The government claimed to have killed more than 2,000 Al-Shabaab fighters since the operations commenced. Despite losing many towns and villages, Al-Shabaab is still capable of conducting attacks in major towns.
Ethiopian authorities have suspended 15 media outlets operating in the country's Somali region for operating without license. The Regional Journalists Association, however, states that the actions were taken in retaliation rather to media reports that exposed corruption and severe drought that faced the region.
Ethiopian authorities have suspended 15 media outlets which have been operating in the country's Somali regional state for allegedly operating without license. The Regional Journalists Association, however, says the action was taken in retaliation to the media's reports that exposed the corruption and the severe drought facing the region. The suspension comes few days after the federal government main media regulatory body, Ethiopia Media Authority, passed a directive ordering regional authorities to ban the media houses. In a letter written on 27th January, Ethiopian Media Authority has urged the Somali Regional Communication Bureau to take measures in collaboration with law enforcement agencies on individuals working for foreign media outlets without having media licenses. The list included, among others, BBC Somali, MMTV, Universal Somali TV, Horial TV, Universal TV, Sahan TV, Horn Cable TV, and Gobjog. During the last 2 years, Ethiopian authorities have arrested dozens of journalists, including NMG correspondent in Ethiopia, who were reporting on the conflict. CPJ, a New York-based press freedom group, reports that at least 63 journalists and media workers have been arrested in Ethiopia during the last 2 years.
That's all we had prepared for you from our desk here in Mogadishu. I wish to thank all the Dalsan team for making this bulletin a success. I'm Abdurrahman Yusuf, telling you have yourself a blessed night.